Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to call to order the meeting of the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners. We'll call on Commissioner Coggin to lead us in prayer, and Commissioner Schaefer will then lead us in the pledge.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fellow Commissioners, Commissioner Cook has given us a reminder of what is to come this weekend with the 4th of July coming up, and also a reminder as we pray this morning of the freedoms that we have, that we're so blessed to have in this country. Will you bow with me? Our most gracious and heavenly Father, we humbly approach your throne this morning, God, thanking you for this day that you've given us to live for you, Father. Lord God, help us today to live in the presence of you and everything that you call us to do, Father. Thank you for blessing us with this country and the freedoms, all of the freedoms that we have and hold dear to our heart. God, thank you. Bless us this day. It's in your Son's name that we pray. Amen.
Okay, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Schaefer. Here. Commissioner Black. Here. Commissioner Jordan. Here. Commissioner P. Here. Commissioner Cook. Here. Commissioner Jernigan. Commissioner Farley.
Here.
Commissioner Williams.
Here.
Commissioner Sandlin. Here. Commissioner Johnson. Here. Commissioner Sparks. Commissioner Hall. Here. Commissioner Jordan. Here. Commissioner Rogers. Here. Commissioner Coggin. Present. Commissioner Bullen. Here. Commissioner Phillips. Present. Commissioner McAdoo. Here. Commissioner Ely. Here. Commissioner Gooch. Here. Commissioner Daniel. Here. 20 present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have before you a copy of the minutes of the last meeting. Commissioner Farley.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the minutes as mailed.
Do we have a second? Commissioner Williams. Does anyone have any corrections or additions? Seeing none, all of you in favor of that, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is unanimous. Now it's a time for public comments, and we have two people that have requested to speak this morning. And please come forward. You have 3 minutes, and give us your name and address. Mr. George Erdell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners. My name is George Erdell. Live at 3940 Cider Drive here in Murfreesboro. I spoke on the 17th regarding the under the radar and through the back door approval which was given to the Islamic Center. I'm here today to look each one of you individuals in the eye and invite you this Thursday at Heartland Independent Baptist Church, 6:30 p.m. We're going to have Dr. Bill Warner give an address, PowerPoint presentation on Islam and Sharia law in Tennessee. I'm doing this so you individuals, you ladies and gentlemen, will have an opportunity to begin to see a little bit of what you're dealing with. Because the way in which this issue was handled, it is quite clear to me in thousands of Rutherford County residents that you don't know what you're dealing with. There will be time for any questions. All the questions that want to be asked, he'll stay until those are answered. I have a website, georgefortennessee.com. This will be announced on there, and I will have a list of all the commissioners who have been publicly and personally invited by me today. They'll be on there. If you show that you've got an interest in learning about this, you'll be reported on the bouquet side. These commissioners had the integrity and had the concern to come and see the other side of the story. If you don't have the courtesy, the courage to come, you'll be on the brickbat side saying these commissioners did not have the nerve to come and hear the other side regarding Sharia law in Tennessee. Ladies, gentlemen, I don't know which one of you folks are up for re-election. Elections are just a few weeks away. And on my website, george4tennessee.com, I will make sure that as many people in Rutherford County as want to come check it out will have the information on who had the intestinal fortitude to come and learn about what we're dealing with. I don't know that this can be undone. I pray that it could be, because it needs to be. But the ball's in your court now, ladies and gentlemen. The offer is there. And I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak this morning. Again, my name is George Erdell. I'm the Tea Party Democrat candidate for the Tennessee 6th Congressional District. And I look forward to seeing each and every one of you this Thursday night. I've got the front 2 rows of pews reserved for commission members only. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Jim Thompson.
Good morning. I'm Jim Thompson. I live at 14136 Mount Pleasant Road, Rockvale. I'm here this morning to discuss zoning resolution and procedures. I have personally been required to adhere to them at least 3 times over the past 8 years. I watched at home on our Rutherford County cable channel the last commission meeting and was stirred by concerns from the different citizens. I promise to be brief, mannerly, and to the point on issues I have studied for myself that certainly contributed to the concerns demonstrated at the last meeting. First and foremost, I had to ask myself why so many folks reported not knowing anything about what was going on until a proposed project had gotten approval. I reflected back on my own personal experience and asked, what about public notifications? I was required to have signage posted. Property owners next to my proposed sites were notified by planning. Let's see, I don't want to lose track here. Posted property owners next to and they were also notices published in the Daily News Journal. I have learned just last week from Mr. DeMosi, the Daily News Journal, which was used to notify the public for my request, is no longer used due to cost savings that the Murfreesboro Post offers. He stated this change has taken place just a few months ago. My question is, who in the right mind made this decision? Commissioners, I was born and raised in Rutherford County. The Daily News Journal has been around as long as I can remember. If the decision was made on cost alone, then I can tell you the result of the last commission meeting demonstrates one of my most fundamental beliefs. We got what we paid for. Hardly a day passes when I don't pick up the D&J or go online to read portions of it. Sunday reading of the D&J is tradition for me. My suggestion, get all notices on the Sunday D&J. Run them frequently on the Rutherford County cable channel, which is how I stay informed of how our county school board meetings and other government meetings take place. Question we must ask are, who made the change of public notices? On what date did the change take place? How much did we save with the change? Most importantly is what will be the final cost of that change. I am submitting to you most of the rural county citizens were not and are not properly notified through the Post for the projects being considered in the jurisdictions that are being represented. I have received signatures from citizens, and folks, this is just less than a week, that state they agree to that point. Per my conversation with Mr. DeMosi last week, he has stated that adequate notice has been rendered and has a letter from the State Attorney General that supports that due notice was given. The opinion was based, I believe, on information provided in the general circulation of the Post was not mentioned. I have a copy of a letter from the state that actually notes that a citizen could bring a lawsuit challenging the adequacies of the notice that was rendered, and a court would ultimately decide whether or not the notice was adequately based upon the facts and circumstances that's presented. Also contained in this letter, it mentioned that staff did not post as they usually do due to an oversight the information on the website. Commissioners, I do appreciate you allowing me to bring these comments to your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thompson. That concludes the request that we've had for public comments. So now we'll call on Commissioner Coggin for elections and confirmations.
Commissioners, first on the agenda is the election of notaries. You've received a copy of those notaries. Mr. Chairman, I move for their approval.
Second, Commissioner Cook. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.
Secondly, we need to fill 2 vacancies on the Community Care Board. The steering committee received 2 applications for that board. and those were Frankie Johnson and Mike Nunley. And Mr. Chairman, I move for their approval.
Second from Commissioner Black. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thirdly, we need to fill 6 vacancies on the Board of Health. The steering committee again received 6 applications for this board, and they are Chad Mills, James Garner, Ronald Wright, John Key, Mary Campbell, and Tammy Adams. Mr. Chairman, I move for their approval.
Second, Commissioner Sandlin. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion is carried.
And last, we need to announce 2 vacancies on the Codes Enforcement Adjustments and Appeals Board.
Thank you, Mr. Coggin. We have no unfinished business. We'll start on the reports by standing committees. The Purchasing Committee has no report today, so we're ready to begin with the Budget, Finance, and Investment Committee. Commissioner Ely.
Item I-2A, 2009-2010 General Fund Budget Amendment from Other Public Health. Be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the 2009-2010 General Fund be amended as follows. Other Public Health and Welfare, from undesignated fund balance $15,000 to other contracted services $15,000, and this amendment provides funding for autopsies to complete this fiscal year. Resolved this 28th day of June 2010. I move for approval.
Second, Commissioner Daniels. Any discussion? Okay, please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, anyone that would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
20 yes, motion passes.
Item I-2B, 2009-2010 General Purpose School Fund Budget Amendments. Be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the 2009-2010 General Purpose School Fund be amended according to the schedule, a copy of the same being attached hereto as Exhibit 1 and incorporated herein by reference as if set forth herein at length verbatim. And if you will turn with me, Commissioners, Revenues and Fund Balance, page 2 of 2. This amendment increases the general purpose school fund balance by $500,000 and decreases transfers to other funds by the same $5,000 to amend an additional $20,500 in recent donations and the related expenditures. Substitutes, page 2 of 2, to amend a total of $395,995 in already budgeted funds for substitute teachers. No new funds are involved. The existing budgeted funds are being moved between the 2 object codes for substitute teachers, which are 369 for certified and 370 for non-certified. Other expenditures, page 4 of 4, to amend $47,789 in state reimbursement revenue for testing expenditures and to reallocate $740,911 in other expenditures as presented. And on the prior page, you will see the major changes covered in this amendment. They are $179,851 for additional unemployment compensation, $155,000 for the portable moves and higher mowing cost, and $110,000 for the custodial materials and supplies. Testing, page 1 of 1, to approve amending $46,993 to 72130-322 testing and evaluation expenditures, and to amend $46,993 in budgeted communication expenditures. And the last one, certified adjustments, page 2 of 2, to approve amending $20,733 in certified staff line items and $862 in related benefits. This amendment is due to some late staff changes and 2 budget adjustments. Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
Motion second from Commissioner Jordan. Any discussion? Please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, anyone that would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
21 yes, motion passes.
Item I2C, the 2009-2010 Central Cafeteria Fund Budget Amendments. Be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the 2009-2010 Central Cafeteria Fund be amended as follows. Food service showing increased revenue and decreased revenue, increased expenditures and decreased expenditures, for a decrease in the undesignated fund balance for the Central Cafeteria Fund of $234,725. Resolved this 28th day of June 2010. I move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Second from Commissioner Johnson. Is there any discussion here? Please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, anyone that would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
21 yes, motion passes.
Item I2D, a resolution authorizing increase to petty cash for the Central Cafeteria Fund. Whereas it is being proposed to increase the petty cash on hand, in the Central Cafeteria Fund from $10,350 to $10,650 to provide $150 of petty cash for each of the 2 new middle schools. Therefore, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the petty cash amount for the Central Cafeteria Fund be increased from $10,350 to $10,650 for the 2010-2011 school year. A copy of the same being attached hereto as Exhibit 1 and incorporated herein by reference as if set forth herein at length verbatim. Resolved this 28th day of June 2010. I move for approval.
Second from Commissioner P. Any discussion? Please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, anyone that would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
21 yes, motion passes.
Item I2E, a resolution authorizing transfers to the self-insurance fund for the payment of liability claims. Be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the 2009-2010 General Fund and the 2009-2010 Solid Waste Sanitation Fund be amended as follows to provide funding to make transfers to Fund 263, the Self-Insurance Fund, for the payment of reserves regarding Rutherford County's outstanding liability claims. For the General Fund, from undesignated fund balance, $570,000 to judgments, $570,000. Solid Waste Sanitation Fund, from the undesignated fund balance, $70,000 to judgments, $70,000. Resolved this 28th day of June 2010. Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
Second from Commissioner Schaefer. Any discussion? Please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, anyone that would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
21 yes, motion passes.
Item I2F, a resolution approving annual contracts with Tennessee Department of Health. And Commissioners, you will notice there are 2 contracts involved in this resolution. One is the annual contract for local health services, and the second one is a salary supplement for the director. Whereas Rutherford County desires to enter into a contract agreement with Tennessee Department of Health for the provision of local health services in the amount of $1,793,500, which is a no-cost contract to Rutherford County, with said costs being reimbursed dollar for dollar. And whereas Rutherford County also desires to execute an agreement with Tennessee Department of Health for the provision of employee services in the amount of $7,802. Therefore, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the county mayor be and is hereby authorized to execute a grant contract with the State of Tennessee Department of Health in the amount of $1,793,500 for the provision of local health services commencing on July 1, 2010 and ending June 30, 2011, and an agreement for the provision of employee services in the amount of $7,802 for the period of September 1, 2010 through June 30, 2011. Copies of the same being attached hereto as Exhibit 1 and incorporated herein by reference as if set forth herein at length verbatim. Resolved this 28th day of June, 2010. Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
Second by Commissioner Sandlin. Any discussion? Please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, anyone that would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
21 yes, motion passes.
Item I2G, a resolution authorizing the increase of the county contribution for Option 1 of the Employee Health Insurance Program. Whereas at the regular meeting of the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners on May 13, 2010, a resolution was adopted approving employee health insurance rates effective January 1, 2011, which reflected a county contribution rate of 75% for Option 1. Whereas in negotiations between the Rutherford County Board of Education and Rutherford Education Association, a Board of Education contribution rate of 77% for Option 1 was agreed to. And whereas it is being proposed that the county's contribution rate for Option 1 of the Employee Health Insurance Program also be set at 77% in order to achieve a uniform contribution rate countywide. Therefore, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the Rutherford County's contribution rate for Option 1 of the Employee Health Insurance Premium be set at 77% effective January 1, 2011. Resolved this 28th day of June, 2010. Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
Second by Commissioner Johnson. Any discussion? Please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, anyone that would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
19 yes, 1 no, 1 abstain. Motion passes.
Item I2H, a resolution revising the effective date to comply with Gadsby 45 requirements for other post-employment benefits regarding current active employees. For the benefit of especially the Budget Committee, I will give just a little history, and for all the commissioners, the original date for this date was July 30, 2010. We had discussion in Budget Committee last Wednesday night, which was the day before the Insurance Committee met, discussing moving that date to August 31st. The Insurance Committee met the following day on Thursday and unanimously voted to change this date to December 31, 2010, and that will be reflected in this resolution. Whereas at the regular meeting of the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners on May 13, 2010, a resolution was adopted regarding Gadsby 45 for other post-employment benefits to help in reducing the annual required contribution. And whereas levels of eligibility at which current active employees will be allowed to participate in Rutherford County's health insurance plan after retirement were established to take effect upon adoption of said resolution. whereas it is being proposed to revise the effective date in calculating the years of service a current active employee has with Rutherford County in determining the level of health insurance coverage an employee may retain after retirement, and the level of the financial contribution from Rutherford County toward any health insurance benefits from June 30, 2010 to December 31, 2010. Therefore, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the effective date to be used in calculating the years of service an employee has with Rutherford County as it relates to OPEB, the level of eligibility at which current active employees will be allowed to participate in Rutherford County's health insurance plan after retirement, and the level of financial contribution from Rutherford County toward any health insurance benefits be revised from June 30, 2010 to December 31, 2010, and that this resolution shall take effect from and after its passage. Resolved this 28th day of June, 2010. Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
Second by Commissioner Jordan. Any
Mr. Chairman.
discussion? Commissioner Sandlin.
This may be a question for Lisa, or I don't know, maybe the insurance committee or something, but how many people does this affect in relationship? We were going to our budgetary year end in June, starting July 1, to now we're back to calendar year December 31st. So I'm sure there's a good reason for that or whatever, but
okay.
Want to do what's right.
I pulled this together about 30 minutes before this meeting, so sitting up here, I already see an error on it. You've got it sheets on your desk. The error is the highway. I posted the changes on the highway on the wrong year, so there's not a lot of employees there, but I'm going to give you the total with the highway department being corrected. It will add 36 people to the 20 to 30 year group. It'll add 102 people to the 10 to 20 year group, and it will add 20 to the 7 to 10 years, and it will reduce the amount that's less than 7 years by 158. It adds 9 more people on the eligibility for those people that meet the 62, age 62, 10 years, or 55 and 15 as of December. So it adds 9 to that group. I will caution to say that there is one more level of requirement that they have to have 5 years on the plan as of December also. So this number that you see reflected, 158, which really should be 9 more than that, I don't have that level to tell you how many of these totally meet all 3 requirements. But that at least give you a sense of how many we added.
Well, in respect to the employees, is it most beneficial this way, December 31st, than it is what we were talking about, I think, August, or definitely better this way?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right.
Oh, we have 2 gentlemen here, and I don't know which one of you rose to speak first. I'll let you decide that. Commissioner Jordan.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good morning. First of all, on this resolution, there is attached, Commissioners, and I'd like to think that you would keep this one. I know we recycle, but there are a number of things that are under review as far as the Insurance Committee is concerned. And for the future, we're going to have some questions on these items, and I think it might help all of us, and it is quite clear right here. That's also a challenge to the county employees to remain and try to keep informed on this issue rather than calling us and saying we knew nothing about it, had no idea that anything was going on, and this sort of thing, and then expect us to explain it to them in total when it will be published. It will be on TV. The Insurance Committee meets right in this room, I believe, the Thursday at 1 o'clock before the Commission week. Is that correct? So I watched this last meeting and was present at the one before that. They're open meetings. So also I want to suggest. First I want to thank the committee that the mayor appointed to take care of this problem in moving it to the 31st. I think that was very well done, and I appreciate you responding to many needs there. But I would like to tell the Commission and perhaps the public as well, and maybe suggest to the committee that that date be firm. You said December 31st. Let's go with December 31st before the phone calls start that somebody was hired on January the 8th or whatever. I think you've drawn a line there. I think it's a good one, and I appreciate you responding to the needs of those people that fell into that time. Thank you.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Yes, I just wanted to bring up that my wife has been working for the Board of Education since just before Commissioner Bullen came on the commission, so you all know how long ago that was. And I just want to, yeah, I think maybe 40 years, but no, I shouldn't say that. I might get in big trouble at home. But I do want to bring up that this in no way affects her with the amount of years that she's had. And also, I don't want to monopolize the conversation today, but in a moment, as long as I'm here, can I read my statement that I am a county employee?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I would just like to make it known that I am a county employee at an entry-level position, and so I could have a conflict of interest of what comes up in the future here. But however, I declare that my argument and my vote answer only to my conscience and to my obligation to the constituents and the citizens that this body represents.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any other questions? Commissioner Williams.
When this came through last time, I asked the question, were the people that were affected have knowledge of this? And I think Lisa had answered it, that where the insurance committee was out there, but I have heard from so many people that weren't aware of it. Now, that having been said, the thing that concerns me about this is people get hired under one plan, and I understand that we've got to go through this process, and no matter where you draw the line, you've got people that are going to be affected by it. I mean, that could ultimately be an ever-ending task to get that accomplished. But my question is, would it be more fair to give people longer time, and I'd certainly appreciate you moving it back from now to the end of the year to give people more time to adjust what they can or cannot do for insurance, because insurance is a pretty significant thing for a lot of the families, and particularly the county employees, and one of the reasons that I would hope that they would be working because of that. So even though it's 6 months, is that long enough to give people the time to adjust, to find other opportunities for insurance, and how does that reflect? Because we have a lot of people that will be unable to get insurance if they aren't on this program. So my biggest concern is that the window of opportunity for people who have come in under one program, now the program changes and they're stuck in a we don't know what to do situation. And granted, this has come through the insurance committee and everybody's had the opportunity to look at it, but I don't believe that this was something that they're aware of, their fault or whomever's fault that it was, based on the number of emails and calls that I've had on that. So my question is, maybe for Lisa or someone that's on the insurance committee, could that be expanded, or have y'all looked at this and this is just the final thing? Thank you.
Well, I'm going to take the bit of the pressure on that. We've really been talking about this more than a year now. No. Commissioner P., you wanted to be recognized earlier.
Yeah, I just wanted to make note. My wife is an employee of Rutherford County. She's a school teacher. This particular vote we're fixing to take on the insurance does not affect her in any way. However, at this time, I'd also like to read my conflict of interest, because we will be voting later on the school board's budget. Since my wife is a county employee and I have a conflict of interest in the proposals about to be voted on, however, I declare that my argument and my vote answer only to my conscience and to my obligation to the constituents and citizens that this body represents. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Schaefer wanted to speak again. He was already up, and then Commissioner Farley.
In response to the Commissioner Williams' question, it's been well over a year since these items have been discussed in the county, and I think people have to be aware of they knew what was coming in all levels that we have with the insurance, and this is something that must be done to help keep the county solvent in future years. And so I think we have bent over backwards on those that come in what you might call the cusp on both times that these issues have come up with insurance. And I think I commend the Insurance Committee and I commend this commission for passing what we have done. And I hope we continue with this resolution here.
Commissioner Farley.
I also, my wife works for the Board of Education, but my wife has not owned any of the county's health insurance. She's owned my insurance that I work for the city of Murfreesboro. So I would also like to acknowledge the conflict that Commissioner P had just, for the record, on my vote today. Going back, the employees that I got calls from on this matter, their concerns were that a 20, 25-year, 30-year employee was going to be treated different than they were. Actually, the insurance was going to basically run out on them right there at the last when they get ready to retire. Their thoughts were that an employee coming in new, entry level, 5 years or whatever, if we were going to change it in that form of fashion, not wait till 20, 25 years an employee comes in here and gives that time and then change it on them in midstream. That was the concerns that I was getting from the calls I was getting. And I think some of the other commissioners may have been getting those same concerns. Someone coming in, entry level, if we change the benefit package, they know up front right there at the first. Once it gets down to the 20, 25, and 30 years, that was the concerns I was hearing.
Well, that's exactly what we've done here. If you've noticed that it's a very graduated process, those that are 20 to 30 years, there's been no change. And it begins from the entry level. Yes, they do have a different level of support. Commissioner Jernigan, did you wish to speak?
Yes, sir. I'm an employee of the Highway Department, so I'd like to read the statement. Because I'm an employee of Rutherford County, I have a conflict of interest in the proposal about to be voted. However, I declare that my argument and my vote answer only to my conscience and to my obligation to my constituents and the citizens this body represents.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Excuse me, Mr. Farley.
I just want to clarify this. I already acknowledge my conflict on the vote. Do I need to read it?
It probably would be appropriate to read it.
Just want to make sure it's right.
But I think that's well taken.
Because my wife is an employee of Rutherford County Board of Education, I have a conflict of interest in the proposal that's about to be voted on. However, I declare my argument and my vote answer only to my conscience and to my obligation to my constituents and the citizens of this body I represent. Thank you.
Commissioner Rogers.
Thank you, Mayor. I too have to note that my wife is recent in addition to the county schools, and I want to read this statement as well because my wife, I'll point out that she has no benefits received in any of these resolutions, but I wanted to note that because my wife is an employee of Rutherford County, I have a conflict in the proposal about to be voted. However, I declare that my argument and my vote answer only to my conscience and to my obligation to my constituents and the citizens this body and I represent.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Commissioner Black.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, my wife, she works for the Rutherford County Sheriff Department in the detention, but she has no insurance over there. I work for the City of Murfreesboro Fire Department. She's on my insurance, but I think it'd be good for me to read this for my constituents. Because I am an employee. No, I'm not an employee. Excuse me. Because my wife is an employee of Rutherford County, I have a conflict of interest in the proposal about to take vote. However, I declare that my argument and my vote answer only to my constituents and to my obligations to my constituents and the citizens this body represents. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other discussion? Please cast your vote. Excuse me, Mr. Johnson, you got me. Mr. Johnson.
Sorry. It could be perceived that I have a conflict of interest. My wife does work for the school board. She's worked there a lot longer than I've been up here. So there again, it could be perceived as I have a conflict. So I'd like to say that my vote is only to answer to my conscience and the obligation of my constituents.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. All right then, is anyone else? Commissioner Daniels.
I have a far less weighty matter on this same subject. My wife is a member and has been on the Records Commission for years without pay, and recently they gave her a $25 a meeting pay at the instance of Mr. Williams, and I want to let that be known. However, I do not think the amount is so great as to color my voting on an insurance matter where she's not even covered.
Well, go ahead and read the statement. Did you have it do you?
What?
I think you've heard it so many times you could probably recite that, couldn't you?
Yeah, I've heard it.
Okay, well, go ahead and recite it to us, please.
Well, I can't do that. Let Farley give me his, or whoever, Joe Frank.
Just a moment, we'll get it.
Then the other thing that does concern me, though, after I've read my statement, because my wife serves on the Rutherford County Records Commission, I, in theory, could have a conflict of interest in the proposal about to be voted. However, I declare that my argument and my vote answer only to my conscience and to my obligation to my constituents and the citizens this body represents. Now, the other question is, what promises were made to the people who were employed who are going to be slightly behind the curve?
I'll answer to it. This is the one piece that people forget to go to. Our plan document that is out for all employees, the first paragraph says this plan can be changed at any time for anything.
Okay.
So there's not a promise on or a guarantee insurance coverage for any of us.
Okay. So then Robert W. Service's principle in the cremation of Sam McGee that a promise made is a debt unpaid would not apply in this instance.
And that's correct.
Thank you.
All right. Now, any other discussion? Any other disclosures? If not, please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, anyone that would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
16 yes, 2 no, 3 abstain. Motion passes.
Item I-2I, a resolution to close certain governmental funds in compliance with Gadsby Statement 54. Whereas the Governmental Accounting Standards Board has issued Gadsby Statement 54, and the State of Tennessee Comptroller's Office has determined that this new accounting statement is considered generally accepted accounting principles applicable to county governments. And whereas Rutherford County has analyzed the governmental special revenue funds of Rutherford County and has determined that certain funds will no longer meet the definition of a special revenue fund under Gadsby Statement 54 and need to be closed by the end of the current fiscal year. Now therefore be it resolved by the County Legislative Body of Rutherford County, meeting in regular session at Rutherford County, Tennessee on the 28th day of June 2010 that Section 1, at the end of the current fiscal year, the Finance Director is authorized to transfer the remaining fund balances of Fund 125, Development Tax Fund, to Fund 101, General Fund, as follows. Development Tax Fund from the undesignated fund balance, $4,159,523 to transfers out, $4,159,523. General Fund, increased revenue transfers in $4,166,028 to increase in unassigned fund balance. And notice we'll be using this new term, $4,166,028. You will notice a difference in the totals there because $6,505 had already been budgeted. These fund balances shall be budgeted and designated by the county legislative body in the general fund as deemed appropriate by the county legislative body and in accordance with applicable law. Section 2, this resolution shall be effective upon its passage and approval, the public welfare requiring it. Adopted this 28th day of June 2010. Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
Second, Commissioner Jernigan. Any discussion? Please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, anyone that would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
21 yes, motion passes.
Item I2J, a resolution revising the fund balance policy in compliance with Gadsby Statement 54. Our Finance Director has introduced these new standards to the Budget Committee, and she will begin in that office implementing these new standards during this year, and we will be using these terminologies. Whereas in order to be in compliance with Gadsby 54, it is necessary to revise Rutherford County's fund balance policy. And whereas Rutherford County hereby establishes and will maintain reservations of fund balance as defined in accordance with Governmental Accounting Standards Board Statement Number 54, Fund Balance Reporting and Governmental Fund Type Definitions. And whereas this policy shall apply to the county's general fund and all governmental funds, with fund balance being composed of restricted, committed, assigned, non-spendable, and unassigned amounts. And whereas fund balance information is used to identify the available resources to repay long-term debt, reduce property taxes, add new governmental programs, expand existing ones, or enhance the financial position of the county in accordance with policies established by the County Commission. Therefore, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the fund balance policy be revised, a copy of the same being attached hereto as Exhibit 1 and incorporated herein by reference as if set forth herein at length verbatim, in order to comply with Gadsby 54. Resolved this 28th day of June 2010. Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
Second, Commissioner Sandlin. Does anyone have any discussion? Commissioner Farley.
Lisa, this question is going to be asked of you. As you know, I think about a year or two ago, me and you had a meeting with our insurance director at that time, Lois Miller, concerning this matter here. What will this do to our insurance for our employee benefits and the retirement?
This one has nothing to do with that.
So this has nothing to do with any of that we had talked about in the past?
Right. All this does, this statement came out to try to make the financial statements more understandable to the public. If you remember, we have certain folks that come in and speak to how much we have in fund balance.
Right.
We know that you can't spend the school's money for general purposes. You can't spend debt money to monies that's in the debt service fund to operate county government. Under the standards previous to 54, the monies remaining in the fund were all classified as undesignated. This changes that to reflect really what those monies are, and they're assigned. They're assigned to debt service. Monies in the solid waste have been assigned to solid waste. Monies from the property tax that's been allocated to the ambulance, it's been assigned. You pass a resolution that says that property tax, so much goes to each of these funds. So therefore, we have to ensure that they go to that fund. So that's what she's saying is terminology. And for the public, the number, what they are looking for to say, how much does the government have to spend for any purpose will be unassigned fund balance in the general fund. And that's what this standard does.
And I understand all that and agree to all that. I just wanted to make sure before I voted, because I know we had a meeting a year or two ago concerning the Gatsby part on the retirement and the insurance part. I just wanted to make sure and clarify that this either was or was not involved. So you answered my question. Yes. Thank you.
Farley, I think I remember those meetings that you were having. That is Gadsby 45. This is what's a little bit confusing. Those are the post-employment benefits. This new statement is Gadsby 54, which has to do with this fund balance policy.
Well, there's a whole lot of Gadsbys. I want to make sure I had the right Gadsby.
And there are two numbers that can be easily switched.
Basically, and you did a very good job of doing that, but I mean, in my opinion, it's just labeling what's been so to speak called rainy day fund. This is labeling every dollar in our general fund all the way through.
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion? Please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, anyone that would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
21 yes, motion passes.
Item I2K, a resolution adopting the 2010, the 2011 property tax levy. Resolution fixing the tax levy, Rutherford County, Tennessee, for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2010. Section 1, be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of Rutherford County, Tennessee, assembled in regular session on the 28th day of June 2010, that the combined property tax rate for Rutherford County, Tennessee for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2010 shall be 2.4652 on each $100 of taxable property, which is to provide revenue for each of the following funds and otherwise conform to the following levies. And again, our finance director was telling us about the terminology where funds can only be used for purposes as specified, and here's a good example of that. For County General, 0.5540, Ambulance Service, 0.0879, Highway Fund, 0.0090, General Purpose Schools, 1.1430, Education Capital Projects Fund, 0.0451, Debt Service, 0.6264, and this brings our total of our certified tax, I'm sorry, let me repeat that, Debt Service, 0.6262. And our total for our certified tax rate for the year 2010-2011 is 2.4652. Section 2 explains how the business tax will be applied. Section 3 explains sales tax revenue. Section 4, the wheel tax revenue. Section 5, the development tax revenue. And Section 6, how interest is split among the funds. Passed this 28th day of June, 2010. Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
Second, was that Commissioner Johnson? Commissioner Johnson, any discussion? Please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, anyone that would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
21 yes, motion passes.
Item I-2L, the 2010-2011 Appropriations Resolution. The first thing you have in your packet is an official letter from the Budget Committee showing the total estimated expenditures for each fund and the tax rate which will be required to finance the budget. And the pages following document the budget proposal. And then we're ready for the appropriations resolution. A resolution making appropriations for the various funds, departments, institutions, offices, and agencies of Rutherford County, Tennessee for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2010 and ending June 30, 2011. Be it resolved by Commissioners of Rutherford County, Tennessee on the 28th day of June, 2010, that the amounts hereafter set out are hereby appropriated for the purpose of meeting the expenses of various funds, departments, institutions, offices, and agencies of Rutherford County, Tennessee for the capital outlay and for meeting the payment of principal and interest on the county's debt maturing during the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2010, ending June 30, 2011, according to the following schedule. For general fund, the total appropriations, $68,093,511. Rutherford County Economic Development, $219,858. Solid Waste Sanitation Fund, $3,381,474. Ambulance Service Fund, $10,052,418. The Special Purpose Fund, $6,000. Drug Control Fund, $669,176. Highway Fund, $9,392,505. General Purpose School Fund, $256,801,110. Central Cafeteria Fund, $15,396,032. Education Capitals Project Fund, $2,287,420. Debt Service Fund, $4,714,454. Past this 28th day of June 2010, Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
And a second from, who did I get that from? Commissioner Schaefer? Any discussion?
Excuse me just a moment, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
I may have misread the total for the debt service. Make sure that I correct that. The debt service, $40,714,454. Thank you, Commissioner McAdoo.
Thank you. That was a point well taken. Any other discussion? What's that? Commissioner Schaefer. All right. Please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, anyone that would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
21 yes, motion passes.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Ely, and especially thank you to all of your members of the Budget Committee. And again, we thank the Finance Department, led very well by Ms. Nolan and Ms. Short, and this has been a really a good effort on the part of many, many people, and we just appreciate all of you participating. The school board, the highway department, every other department we have, the sanitation and solid waste, we've had a very good working relationship, and I really want to express my appreciation for that. Let's see, we have no reports from any of the other committees today. So is there any other business to come before this body? Commissioner Williams.
We have had a lot of petitions that have been circulated over the validity of the proper notice for the Planning Commission's site approval process. The thing that concerns me the most about this is that the other night in the steering committee we were working to go through a anti-litter ordinance. And part of this discussion from legals was, and a lot of the questions was, the jurisdiction, where they started and where they ended, and the process of that. With that in mind, it has come to me, being a rural, primarily a rural commissioner, that the Murfreesboro Post is not distributed in my area, as well as a lot of other of the rural areas. I don't think it's distributed. I don't know the distribution area, but I do know that the main part of the circulation ends at the city limits. The concern that I have is that we've already had a citizen file a complaint with the state, and that the state has said that it appears, based on the information that they've received, that nothing was inappropriate. And that very well may be. However, I would like for us to take some steps beyond where that is, and I don't want to get into at this meeting about the whys and the wherefores, and that the people didn't get notice. Granted, as one of my constituents says, when I informed them that they could have ordered the Murfreesboro Post, and they informed me that they could have also ordered the Chicago Tribune, the New York Times, the Atlanta papers, and any other place across the nation, but they too did not have general circulation distribution in the area in which the Planning Committee's jurisdiction covers, which it stops at anybody's city limits. So I would just ask this body that, since we've already had a precedent with the following, sending something to the court to clear up a matter for us in the rock quarry situation, that we would forward a request to the courts to clear this up, because number one, it would make things much simpler, because I'm quite certain, based on the number of people that have been out and spoke about things, that, and they have indicated that those types of actions we're going to do, and that can be extremely time consuming and extremely costly. So I'm standing here to make a motion that we ask the court for the advice, as we've done in the rock quarry situation. They may or may not hear it, but to see if the Planning Commission and the public notice was done properly. So that would be my motion.
Second, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Hall.
Mr. Williams, I think this letter we had from the Comptroller's office said on face that what we're doing is by the law, and I agree with you on as far as the using of the post, because unless you order it, we don't get it on the north end of the county. I think this problem can be fixed with us in-house. We don't need an opinion from somebody at the state level. We can do it with the things that come along with elections now being run through Twitter and Facebook and everything else. That you know, Murfreesboro Domestic Violence takes tips. We're in the process in Smyrna of getting our own little Facebook page. The SO currently has it. There's avenues and things that we can do as a governing body on our own website to get the word out here. This is the age. I brought it up a couple years ago about us getting a little bit more advanced up here, even on this floor, with the little computers and not using so much paper. We're going to take it down, throw it away, and we should be at a touch of the button. That's the age we're in. We're the only governing body here in this county that aren't stepping up. we need to point the finger of ourselves a little bit and step up. I think we can fix this in-house. Our planning laws, as we know, have been lacking. We're trying to get that fixed, and along with this, I think a meeting or two, if we even get a side committee, we can step up and do things better ourselves. I just had an issue in the last week with somebody sent me an email because the electronics that you take in, if you don't have a cord on your monitor, they charge you $5. Never heard of it, didn't know anything about it, wasn't even on our website, but somebody took it over there and didn't have a cord on it, and they charged the man $5. It's on there now. That's how, as things evolve, we need to get that, our IT, we've got to get it up to date. We've got to get it rolling, and we don't put enough emphasis on that. And I point the finger at myself and this body. That's our responsibility. But I don't know where this motion sent to the state for opinion, because we've got a comptroller's office, and it's very narrow what it says we're allowed to do, and I think we're meeting that standard under what the law says. But what I think the people are asking me and asking us is we step up and do more as far as signage and getting it on our website or setting something up to where they see that. The roots and the things that you're hearing about that church or mosque or whatever you want to call it out there is things that these people will have email and they have internet and they can pull things up and they can do it at the same time they could do it with what we have coming through here. I don't get emails on planning. What's coming and what's going. I see what happened afterwards. I think it was even said on that issue, the commissioner's district wasn't aware of it even coming until after the day it happened. Who do we point the finger at? Do we need somebody's advice from the state to do that? No, that takes from us. So I understand, and I'm not going to vote for your amendment or your motion, but I understand. But I think we ought to point the finger at ourselves a little bit and get to work on it.
Commissioner Johnson and then Commissioner Schaefer.
I made the second on this motion for discussion. I think any commissioner stands up and makes a motion, you should have a second, because if you don't get the second, it's like a slap in the face.
Well, I accepted your second even before you stood this time.
Yes,
I mean, I recognized you.
But I just consider it a slap in the face if you make a motion and it's denied for lack of a second, because in essence you're saying, well, it's not worth discussion. And any topic is worth discussion if a commissioner feels that way. But I also agree with Commissioner Hall. Now I've said before, we need to take care of our own, do things here. But my question is, Mr. Cope, what is the law that we have to abide by concerning publication or notification of the meetings?
Well, when you are required, if you are required, that's the first question, if you are required to give a public notice, then it has to be deemed to be in a newspaper of general circulation. And those publications are basically reviewed and determined whether they are or are not newspapers of general publication, public circulation. In this case, I believe the Post has been designated such. Now, having said that, that's not to say the coverage for every particular publication that's been deemed to be of general circulation necessarily reaches the largest audience. There are lots of publications that don't reach a very large circulation. For example, there used to be a paper in Nashville, maybe still be there, I'm not sure, called the Nashville Record. And the entire and only purpose of that newspaper was the publication of legal notices. So when you open the thing up, it would be 30 pages of foreclosure notices, public notices, etc. And there was not, to my recollection, when I used to review it, there wasn't a single news item in the record, but yet it was deemed a record notice of publication. I dare say the only people that ever saw that were attorneys and accountants and others who had reason to want to keep up with that. So just because it meets the minimum standard doesn't necessarily mean it reaches the widest circulation. But in terms of complying with the law, I believe we do have a letter from the Comptroller's Office that the notice was legally sufficient. Having said that, if you want to file a legal action with the court to ask the court to opine on that, that's certainly your prerogative. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. So the Post is general
circulation. That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
I will also say that we can cure this problem. If your only problem is spending a few more dollars, we'll just put it in the D&J and be done with it. I don't have a real problem with that personally. Secondly, it might be reasonable for the D&J and the Post just to agree on what their rates would be, and they would both get a reasonable amount of business from all of the public entities. Commissioner Schaefer.
Well, I disagree with just putting money in a certain paper, more money in a certain paper to publish a notice when we've got the electronics at our hands, and that's our website, and that's Channel 19. So, okay, that cuts out the direct and dish, but still it reaches a wide circulation, and I don't think the Daily News Journal is that has that larger circulation throughout the county. And the main reason I'm speaking right now is I disagree with the commissioners. The commissioners wanting to take it to the courts, because a year and a half ago approximately is when we took the rock quarry to the courts. And all we've really gotten done so far is paid over $18,000 in attorney fees, and we're not going to get it resolved until the whole case is resolved.
Okay. Mrs. Cook.
20 years ago, the D&J was well known, but today it's not as well known as it was then. And in Laverne, there was maybe 500 D&Js distributed at the homes and at the boxes. But the Tennessean was well known in Laverne. So it depends on where you are in the county, which paper is going to be successful to get the messages to you. Comcast is one of the best because we have Comcast, and most people are on Comcast. And that may be our best bet to get it out there.
Okay, any other discussion? Commissioner Jordan.
Well, I'll just make a statement being on planning. I remember when it came in front of the Planning Commission to change from the D&J to the Post, it was all trying to save taxpayer dollars because there were huge differences. I mean, several $100s for an ad compared to $50 or $60 for an ad, which accounts to tens of thousands of dollars over a year's time. And we didn't know how many people were actually reading the D&J because most people read it online nowadays, and that's harder to find those things. And we just did it as a cost-saving measure. If everybody just soon spend $10,000 or $20,000 more dollars of taxpayer dollars, and be more than happy, I would say, only speaking as one member of the Planning Commission, to put it back in the D&J. But that's the reason we did it. We were just trying to be frugal with the tax dollar.
All right. Thank you very, very much. Anyone else to speak? Now, you two gentlemen have already spoken. Let's see if anyone else has something else they want to say, please. It appears no one else wishes to speak. Well, hold it, Mr. Daniels. Do you wish to speak back there?
I'd just like to ask one question on that. Did you check with the reader? Was there in other words, an invitation for bids?
No, there was not an invitation to bids. Let me say this as a point of clarification. The reader has been into my office even asking that we consider them. The State Attorney General's office has now chosen in recent months to not give a ruling on what publication is a publication of general circulation. They're out of that business. Therefore, we're on our own. And this all occurred with respect to the Post and the D&J previous to this, and we do have their opinion on those two publications. We don't have an opinion on the reader. We won't get an opinion on the reader, and in view of all of this difficulty, I've not chosen to use the reader yet. So you can sort of say, I don't think it's an appropriate approach to take right now in view of the situation we're having, even this discussion we're having today.
Right, because whatever was done was done. You know, if 'twere done, 'twere well, 'twere done quickly, and it was. But now we're having some remorse about how it was handled, I guess. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, Commissioner Williams.
My point on this was not to get into the debate of what we should do in the future about that. I'm sure we're going to cover all of that, as Commissioner Hall was talking about, had some very good points. My point is threefold. Number one, there's already a citizen that has filed a complaint with the state comptroller's office, and they have received, as we've all gotten, copies of what they gave it as an opinion. If you'll notice, in the footnote, it says, according to staff, the agenda for the May 24, 2010 meeting was not posted prior to the meeting due to an oversight. Judges and courts love oversights. The other part of this is, and I'm just reading from this paper, it says, based upon the facts that have been presented to this office, it gives the opinion that everything was done right. But it goes on to say, it is important to note, however, that a citizen could bring a lawsuit challenging the adequacy of notice, and a court would ultimately decide whether or not the notice was adequate based upon the facts and circumstances presented to it. Now, as I stand here, if y'all don't think that there's a lawsuit that's going to be more costly than where we are asking the court, there ain't a cow in my district. So that's coming. I'm just trying to be proactive as opposed to being reactive, that these things will most likely be filed because of the thousands of signatures that are on these petitions. That is ultimately where we're going to be. So we can choose as a body to do nothing and go home and enjoy the July off, or we can take some action, as the county attorney says, and send the opinion up and let the courts decide this at our request, as opposed to waiting for what's ultimately coming. That's my only point.
Commissioner Johnson.
Due to the information that we just heard from Commissioner Williams, Mr. Cope, could we, based on that information, due to the flaw in the procedure or the mistake or perceived mistake, could we take this back to the Planning Commission, or is it too late? And would we have to continue on to court or something along that line? But could we take it back to planning due to what was just stated?
No, I don't think you can take it back to Planning Commission on some allegation, particularly when you have an opinion from the Council of Open Records that the process was not flawed. It certainly, as Commissioner Williams points out, court may disagree with that, but the highest authority we right now have is the State Open Records Council, having said that the county did comply. And until someone tells us differently, then that's where we stand.
I'm sorry, then I misunderstood Commissioner Williams then, based on what you just said, because I understood him to say that that was in the record, that was part of their, like an asterisk to their opinion. Now,
the only thing that was in reference to, they referred to the fact that we did not post it timely on our website. That is not a requirement anyway, period. That's the only comment made. What we did by posting it in the Post, they said we did it completely appropriately. Okay.
I'm sorry, could we hear the motion before we vote?
The motion is this, and I've sort of reworded it, Mr. Williams, to make this clear, so you listen to this carefully. Motion that we ask the court for a determination to see if the public notice given by the Planning Commission regarding their meeting of May the 24th, 2010 was appropriate and legal. Does that meet your intentions? And Mr. Johnson, was what I just read appropriate with you as far as your second is concerned? All right, so we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any other discussion? Please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, anyone that would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
Eight yes, 11 no, 1 abstain. Motion fails.
All right, thank you. Any other business to come before this body? Commissioner Bullen.
Mr. Chairman, this is on hopefully a lighter note. I noticed Commissioner Johnson said that a slap in the face was an insult. Well, occasionally a slap in the face will make you wake up to what you need to be paying attention to. When Franklin D. Roosevelt died, I was 3 months short of 5 years old. I was in a room with my grandmother, my aunts, a couple of other people. They were listening to the funeral on the radio, and they were all crying. I made some kind of silly remark about Franklin D. Roosevelt, and the next thing I knew, my grandmother was out of her chair, came across the room, and knocked me halfway across the room. The only time she ever laid a hand on me. What did I learn from that? I've never said a bad word about Franklin D. Roosevelt since then.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Jernigan.
I'd like to leave on a little positive note. We got 3 commissioners that served up here that chose not to run again. I think they've done an outstanding job. That's Commissioner John Rogers, Commissioner Bob Bullen, and Commissioner Mike Sparks. I think this commission should congratulate them on their service and a job well done. Thank you.
That's a point well taken. We're going to have one more opportunity to really give them some more commendations and compliments. Commissioner Black.
I'd just like to echo Commissioner Jernigan's comments there on that. I wish Commissioner Sparks on his future endeavors as a state representative. Also, Commissioner Bullen there on his endeavors on being the next ball coach for Boston Red Sox. And also Commissioner John Rogers on his endeavor as a U.S. Supreme Court judge. Thank you.
I'd just like to publicly introduce our new insurance director, Ms. Melissa Stinson. Those of you on the Budget Committee have already seen her. She started June the 1st, so we're excited about her being with us. We appreciate her experience and her abilities, and we're just look forward to working with her. So I want everyone that's of our employees and anyone in the public to see this young lady. Her door and her phone is open just like mine is, so anyone that has a need or a question, don't hesitate to give her a call. Thank you, Melissa. Now, someone else over here wishes to speak. Mr. Hall.
Finally got an event in my district I can talk about. Saturday night, we got fireworks, town of Smyrna, the Smyrna Rec Park. Please come out. It'll be, I think what I understood the other day, it's the most booths we've ever had. So get there early. Parking becomes a big deal later on in the evening, but I invite everybody out to see fireworks Saturday night. Thanks.
Mr. Johnson, was it you? Okay, I didn't know it was you and Mr. Sparks.
Commissioner Bullen, I highly respect you, and I'd never slap you in the face. But if your comments had been a motion, you would have had the second from me.
Point well taken. Any other business to come before this body? Commissioner Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to remind the group again what Mr. Coggin, I believe, reminded us of, that it's July 4th weekend. There'll be a number of activities around the county. You probably want to attend one of them. But certainly you want to drop by the Rockville Picnic, where Commissioner Williams will be buying my lunch. Okay? And I'll see you at Rockville. Thank you.
Commissioner Sparks.
Yeah, real quick, speaking of the DNJ, if people don't know, you can go to, I think it's RutherfordReader.com, MurfreesboroPost.com, thednj.com. Maybe these papers, maybe this will be an opportunity, maybe steering to address it where maybe they'll put these adequate notice and some of these public notices online for free for the taxpayers and also increase their online readership. So it's dnj.com, MurfreesboroPost.com, and I believe the RutherfordReader.com. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Sparks. Anyone else wish to speak? If not, enjoy the weekend coming up with the 4th of July, and thank you very, very much. We are adjourned.